Now, speaking about the X-Men even further, we have Wolverine and Deadpool coming out, just as Alexia stated, and they've already teased in the Marvels. There was a end credit scene where Monica Rambeau ended up in an alternate universe, and she was in the lab in the mansion with Beast from the X Men. So obviously they were
Oh,
already
right.
hinting. Yeah, they were already hinting at the X Men in alternate universe, and now with Deadpool,
Well, that's the only
they're
way
kind
they
of
can
bringing in.
introduce them because we've had Marvel for how many years now? If they're like, oh, they were just
Well,
dormant.
that's why I think this is interesting. So what we're going to talk about now is how do you think, we're including you guys in this as well, the audience, the MCU should introduce mutants into the MCU because it's already been established. Like superheroes, Hulk, Thanos have showed up, all that stuff has been happening, and like mutants is not like they just gained their powers at like whatever, like they're
Just
born
recently, yeah.
like that. Yeah, they've been around, and you look at mutants like Magneto, he's been around since the Holocaust. Like he isn't even as a tattoo. So it's like, how do you like erase that? How do you
Has he
undo
really?
that? How do you hide that? Yeah, that's why his story is so tragic. That's
Wait,
why
so does he
Magneto's.
not age either, or like he ages, but like does he like age slower?
Well, he ages. He's older. He is much
Yeah,
older
but
because he's been around since the Holocaust, and that's why it's like it's going to be interesting. Like, how do you bring that up? Because obviously that happened so long ago. Now we're in
and Wolverine was
2024.
around way before that.
Oh, he's been around before everybody. He was in the wars that Captain America fought in before he went into the ice.
Oh yeah, and then I didn't see any Wolverine like spoiler or hint in Captain America's first movie. Did I?
Well, no, they didn't.
No.
But
I
the
mean,
thing about it, Marvel didn't have the rights to the X Men, so
right,
they
right. So the
couldn't.
politics
They
is
couldn't
like
even like
one
tell
thing.
them.
So it's like, okay,
Yeah,
now from an entertainment or a viewer standpoint, how would they need to introduce the X Men into the MCU?
yeah, because in the comics, as far as I know, y'all could attack me in the comment section below if I'm wrong. But Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch are actually the children of Magneto. They're his kids. But in the MCU, because they couldn't call them mutants, they had to call them miracles, and they got their power from the Mind Stone and the Scepter in the second Avengers movie.
I did not know that.
Yeah, they're actually supposed to be his
Who
children,
was their
Magneto's
mom?
kids. I don't know, some random thotty. Gave it up to the master of magnetism.
Damn.
Yeah, your face.
I just I didn't expect that. Well, I do want you guys to answer, but do you want me to answer?
Yeah, of course. I
Oh,
want you to answer.
okay.
I want to know
No.
how you
Did you
think
want
they should
open-ended or
introduce
whatever?
them. No, no.
Okay,
Go
so
ahead.
I think you guys
Alexia's
already
mind,
know.
y'all. Welcome to Alexia's
Here we go.
Logic.
After hours. So you guys already
Why
know.
don't gotta be after hours with your mind? You can't just be random, regular times. Got to be at dark.
Are y'all clocked in?
All right, go
I
ahead.
already cannot really stand this multiverse thing. I think it's annoying because, like, I'm not saying it's not possible, and it's cool that they, like, touched on it, and then, like, Ant-Man, Hulk, and that was it. Sorry, I was thinking Hulk and Bruce, but they're the same. Anyway, doing the math behind it and then being like, oh, we're in the quantum realm and we're time traveling and blah blah blah. Now there's multiple universes, and Doctor Strange. That was cute. Now stop, because like once you do that, you're opening this portal of like endless possibilities where now we're playing like, and this is only annoying because like I guess in today's woke day and age where they're like you can't offend anybody, like now we've got what, Black Captain America, female Hulk, like they're just like flip flopping like a bunch of these other things. So they even did, like a Black Little Mermaid, and like a Snow White's even casted as what, some Pakistani or whatever. Doesn't matter. The point is,
No, I think they canceled it because of all the controversy.
good.
And
Anyway,
they just announced Romeo and Juliet's black, and there's already controversy about that. So continue.
okay, so now you're opening to the multiverse, and it's like, but there's a possibility because like in the Loki series, there was a ton of different Lokis. There was a girl Loki that he fell in love with. Ew. There was a crocodile Loki. That's not funny. There was a midget Loki. There was a blonde Loki. There was a buff Loki. And I'm just like, guys, like
What else?
Yes, they're so infinite. Like, yes, they're infinite. Like, we're gonna be here all day talking about how many possibilities, and it's just like, stop, like, stop. So I think what I'm saying is, because Doctor Strange had tried to like, what was it? He took away everyone's memory that Peter Parker was Spider-Man, and then he saved the world by closing the portals. And I thought that that was kind of like a multiverse or multi-universe, if anything, type thing. So if you're gonna bring the X-Men in, you should merge the two worlds, but do like an unbreakable, like irreversible bondage thing, and then like break the tie so that it can never happen again. Just because you're just gonna open up this possibility where it's like, oh well, Iron Man's also alive in another universe. Like, no, like if you bring Iron Man back, I mean, I love Iron Man. We love Iron Man, and when he died in Endgame, tears, like river of tears.
Literally cried. She's not being extra with that.
I wasn't the only one, but I'm just saying. Then you bring it back, you're like, surprise, he was in another universe. Then you just negated everything that built up to his death and to us loving him and like all this shit. And now it's like, well, now what is this, Rick and Morty? We can just replace them with another set of like the Avengers, and then it's like no big deal. Like, and it also wouldn't make sense, because if that's the case, I mean, not that it wouldn't make sense, but an infinity is a wildly huge number. Like, you can't even, like, you can't. So if you're saying like, oh, you know, the mutants are also in multiple universes, so now Magneto has metal powers, another universe he has Xavier's powers, another universe he has no powers, another universe he's a president, another universe he's a baby, another universe he's a black girl. Like, okay, like, I'm exhausted. So anyway, let Doctor Strange or like whatever bring them. Oh no, maybe Deadpool, because Deadpool, you know, breaks the fourth wall all the time. You
yeah, we're saying this before Wolverine and Deadpool comes out, so just all speculation.
Yeah, but still, let somebody open like a portal for a multiple universe thing, combine them so that the mutants are not in another world, they're in ours now, somehow, I don't know, and then close it so that there's no more. Like, not even Loki can travel anymore, because it's just like, again, it's too exhausting. You're just going to keep dragging it, and then you're literally going to drag my body until, like, all the flesh and the bones are, like, shaved off by the pavement, and, like, it's not going to be cute, so.
Wow, that was a visual
that's how it feels, so.
Wow.
What do you think?
So you think that's how they should do it? They should bring them in from a alternate universe and merge
that seems like to me the only logical way, besides, like, some outlandish, like, thing that would also piss me off, so. How do you think they should?
All right. Don't want to piss Alexia off, though. So here's how I think they should do it. I personally don't think they should bring them in from an alternate universe, like use the multiverse to bring them. I think the X-Men or the mutants should have been here the entire time. Because when I think of mutants like Wolverine or Magneto that have like these rich histories, and, you know, Wolverine, who's practically almost immortal, or like Apocalypse, who is the first mutant who was there when the pyramids were made. You know, like, there's such a rich history with these characters. So what I think is that the mutants should have been here all along. It's just after the snap that Thanos did, and when Tony snapped everybody back, that surge of energy actually unlocked the X gene, making it rapidly faster, where more mutants were coming to fruition. But the mutants had already existed. They had already been here the entire time. But Professor X had used his telepathy to block that out from everybody's mind. Because you see that happen in the movies a lot, where there'll be an incident where, I remember in X-Men 2 it was, or X-Men 3, one of the guys, he snatches like the lighter from the dude, and then like he like manipulates the flame to like blow it up because the guy was being a jerk. And then Bobby, who's Iceman, freezes the guy, and then everybody around them freezes. And the mutants are standing there like, what the heck just happened? Like, what's going on? Professor X froze everybody. And they was like, you know, we need to get out of there because it was just an assassination attempt on the president. So, like, mutants don't look good right now. And then everybody woke up and didn't remember anything. So who's not to say that Professor X didn't already do that on a global level? Because Cerebro allows him to connect to every mind on the planet. So you could have had it where the mutants have been here the entire time, but that memory's been blocked out. And Professor X has kind of been keeping it on the low.
That's a very good theory. The only hole in that theory...
Oh, so, okay, here we go. Let's put in my plot hole before I even finish. Go ahead.
Yeah, because I don't want you to say the whole thing, and then I'm like...
You see how excited she was? Yeah, here, I go.
So your plot holes was shit. Like, you just wasted your time, homie.
All right, go ahead.
No, that's a great idea, except Professor X, in Days of Futures Past, he was younger. He wasn't a professor quite yet, or no, he had the school in it, he gave it up or whatever, but he got his ability to walk back, and in order to do that, he had to give up his telepathy. So every time he went back into Cerebro and then like rebooted the machine, blah, blah. The point is, all of that, when he got back into being in the wheelchair, like you said, Magneto already was there, Wolverine was already there, and Apocalypse was already there, and I don't know if maybe Professor X can literally go back in time too and make those people forget, but like how? It doesn't make sense, because if they wrote like, oh, the gods built the pyramids and then, you know, Wolverine was blah blah, like he couldn't have done it until after whatever year that was.
Well, no, he could just block out that part of your memory, because remember also when you're referring to X-Men First Class and X-Men Days of Future Past, the girl that was on the island with them that he had like a romance with, the girl that like shot him in the back by accident when Magneto was deflecting the bullets, he blocked out that memory from her. So when he met her again, I think it was in X-Men Apocalypse, she had no recollection that she met Charles, or that she was on the beach and shot him with the gun that like paralyzed him. She had no recollection of him at all, or the mansion, nothing. And it wasn't until he unlocked that part of her mind that she remembered everything.
Yeah, but
so
that doesn't negate what I said. So how can he make people forget that have been dead for centuries already?
Well, the people who forget, in a sense, like that, like are dead, like they're not alive to tell those tales.
Yeah,
it's just
but
like that
they did, because that was history,
no
right? Or like the stories passed down.
But here's the thing: history can always be misconstrued, and at the time, these people at the time probably didn't know they were mutants. They probably saw them as gods. That it could go down in history like that.
Unless Wolverine and Magneto, during the Holocaust and during the Civil War and all that stuff, actually didn't do anything, which is hard to believe. Let's say they didn't do anything. Professor X was like, okay, I'm going to make everyone forget that mutants did anything to them ever, all over the planet. Because, I mean, he is that powerful. He probably could. But, like, he would make everyone forget and also, like, rewrite the history books because he can. And, you know, make everyone literally not remember, so that the first time they meet a mutant is going to be, 2024 or whatever.
Yeah, but you also have to think about it like this. The reason why I think it works, because I'm seeing it as like mutants are just coming in, but it isn't like an explosion. So you may have like a couple, like a handful throughout like the years. So it's not enough. They should have already been doing that. Like, yeah, but as I'm saying, they can retroactively do it. It's just at the same time, it's like, who's gonna know? Like, how would they know the difference? Like, what a mutant is. And that's another thing I think they need to do as well when they bring them the X-Men into the MCU, because you already have people like Hulk, Captain Marvel, Captain America, Black Panther. All these people have all these superpowers. So it's like, why do people hate the mutants and not these superpowered individuals? Like, you have to be able to like find like a reason to like why they hate them and not these superheroes. Like, what's the differentiation? But like the people will be able to recognize. The reason is the knowledge, the
fear behind it. It's kind of like, we know how Hulk became Hulk. We know how Captain America, you know, they injected them with these not illegal, but like super crazy serums. The mutants are like born with this.
Yeah, but see, that's what I'm saying. Civilians, they don't know that unless that history is given to them. Like, if they see Hulk, they don't know it's from radioactive thing. Like, and if they saw what's his face, Colossus, the guy that turns all metal, he was in Deadpool 2. They don't know if he was born like that or an accident happened to him. So that's why I think they need to make that clear as well. Like, what separates the mutants from the heroes that just have a super soldier serum or
but the mutants really good at shooting heroes arrows. Too, so
no, they are exactly. But that's why, like, I think it needs to be important. Like, why you differentiate them. Like, what makes humanity scared of them and not Captain America and the rest of the crew, like Spider-Man. Because technically, right, you could be like, oh, Spider-Man's a mutant, like, if you didn't know. But, like, he got bit by a spider, got a radioactive spider, got all these powers. But, like, he was a normal kid beforehand. So it's like, I think that's important to, like, differentiate them because that's a
Yeah,
big
so
thing
what makes him
in the
not a
X-Men
mutant,
universe.
actually? What if in another, like, timeline, he went to Professor X's school instead of New York?
Well, I think what makes him not a mutant is kind of what you said before is that he wasn't born that way. Just like Steve Rogers wasn't born Captain America, he had to be given a super soldier serum. Just like Bruce Banner wasn't born the Hulk, he had a freak accident that happened to him. Black Panther
Okay,
had
so
to
Wolverine
eat the
wasn't born
heart-shaped
with
fruit.
that.
No, he was born. He was born with the healing factor. That's the only reason why he was able to survive the procedure that bonded the adamantium to his skeleton.
He wasn't injected with that? They didn't alter his brain cells? It didn't alter his cells?
What, to give him the healing factor?
Well, any of his powers, all of them, but yeah.
No, he was born like that. He had bone claws. He had heightened sense of smell, hearing, and he already had the healing factor.
Really?
So later on, they bonded the adamantium to his skeleton because he was the only one that could survive that procedure because of his rapid healing ability. Any other person would just die. Think about that.
I didn't know that.
I think the only other person is Deadpool that could like heal like that. Like literally, you could blow up Deadpool.
Yeah, but he also wasn't born with that. He was treating cancer, and then like his cells also mutated. So that's what I said. That's what the only difference has to be. But I mean, it can't be like the mutants were dormant this whole time, or their genes, and then like something activated it either. So I think like I'm just saying like for the writer's perspective.
Yeah, I think like I said, I think the mutant gene should have always been around. Just like, this is probably not the best example, but you know, some people who are born with disabilities, you know, like autism or other things, and it's like it's not a common like thing that happens to everybody, but you see it, you recognize it, and like obviously as time has gone on, we've found different ways to treat these things. But with a mutant, it's different. So like imagine someone like Wolverine being born in the 1700s. We don't have the technology. We don't have cell phones or the internet and stuff like that to like spread that information. So it's really just hearsay. It sounds like a vampire that you're making up.
No,
this guy, he never
I don't want to
ages,
nitpick or anything, but it's kind of like, how did Rogue then like come out the womb? Like she was probably touching her mama's, you know, with her head, and so did her mom die during birth or before that, or like how did she get born? Because it's like these powers are not to play with. And then like
no, definitely not.
Even Nightcrawler. When he like transports to like another spot in the room, it's like, I mean, if you're a kid and you're doing that, what would I say? But like, how are you doing that? Control yourself. Like, what's making you teleport? Like, teach me. Like,
no, there's definitely. I mean, because someone like Nightcrawler's born like blue. He's just born like that. He looks like that. He can't hide it. So I get it. Like so.
Oh, so he's probably like later generations then, because you can't really hide that stuff. Plus, he has 3 fingers, right? So.
Exactly.
But,
okay. He's got a tail.
Now, I like your theory better than mine, just for the writer's perspective, but it would take years, and we're already, like, I mean, I think Marvel is trying to keep up with now, so, like, Thanos' finger snap was, like, relevant to the year that movie came out, so, like, even now, Deadpool and Wolverine, they're going to be playing in 2024, and it's released in 2024. So, like, if they're going to start releasing mutants, it has to be a slow process, and it has to be starting, like, that way. It can't just be boom. But if it is, like, a one and done, like, oh, they're mutants now, then, yeah, I think the only way to explain that without, causing a stir is some sort of stupid multiverse crap, because there's really no other way that you're like, oh yeah, they were here the whole time, they just didn't do anything. Surprise! Like, yeah, we get it. Like, they weren't owned by Marvel and now they are, and blah, blah, blah. But, like, to, like, the regular moviegoer, or, like, someone watching these movies 30 years from now, they're not gonna know or care about that.
No, I get that. It's just, I think to me, the history of these characters matter, and certain events. So I think if you bring them from another universe, not saying that history can happen there, but I think it takes away some stuff. And to me, I think it makes it more interesting if the characters had already existed in the MCU. They call it in the multiverse universe 616, that they already existed in the 616 universe.
I know, but I hear that other people are like, that's what they want too. But then it's like, again, they were just quiet when Thanos was around. They did absolutely nothing.
Maybe, maybe. I mean, I understand where you're coming from. It's like where all these events had happened, but at the same time, you also have to look at it like this. When we're watching something like, what is it? The first Avengers, or even the second Avengers, Age of Ultron, when we see the attack of New York, like, oh, it's like this big event, right? But when we watch the movie, that's happening in real time. Like, real time that happens. So the attack on New York only takes like 20 to 30 minutes. That's not a long time for it to happen. So the mutants wouldn't have been able to do anything anyways.
The mutants would have been seen that coming from 2 weeks ago.
What mutant would have saw that, Alexia?
Jean!
Jean Grey.
Jean, Professor X.
Look, I get where you're coming from. There's a lot of stuff that they have to do, but
it's just a lot of explaining. So.
Yeah, that's a lot because a lot has happened. So
it's kind of like I want the mutants
like
to be
Thanos.
there already, but if you're going to take the time to do it right and explain, then it's going to be probably another 4 to 5 years before the mutants are fully immersed, and I'm like impatient.
Yeah, for me personally, I think how they should start the movie if they do like the MCU, like the MCU X-Men, it should start with some boy who's running and it's Iceman, and he he's like sweating and he's like his powers are coming to fruition. And he's like, things are happening, and people are like freaking out because they see this happen. And Professor X comes, freezes everybody, captures him, and Jean picks him up and brings him back to the mansion.
Wait.
And is basically like talking to him. Oh, hold on, let's gotta catch up.
I just had a flashback. Which movie was it where like somebody traveled back in time and they went to almost like a Stranger Things hospital and they saw a bunch of kids and they were mutants and these people were testing them?
Was that Days of Future Past?
No. Who was it?
You talking about a movie?
Yeah, remember? It was like they never actually said X-Men, but it was heavily implied that it was X-Men.
In which movie?
That's
which
what I'm
X-Men?
asking you.
I don't know, bro. I'm trying to remember. But I definitely think the mutants should be there the whole time. And I just think it just expedites itself after the snap that happened like 3 times. Everybody getting wiped out, everybody coming back. I think that could definitely send a surge of energy that expedites that process, which is the X gene in humans. I mean, because you even saw it in Endgame when they're trying to find Thanos, they're able to like detect where it is from the energy surge when he snapped his fingers again to destroy the stones. So I think that's how you can have more mutants coming. But I think the ones that we do know, like Professor X, Magneto, Wolverine, Cyclops, Jean Grey, Storm, they've always been around. And as for Magneto, you could even be like he was in a cryo state like the Winter Soldier. That when Captain America and his crew went to Germany to go take out Red Skull and Hitler, that falls right in line with the Holocaust. So Magneto could have been one of those people in the camps that they freed. And when they saw like his abilities, they just thought, oh man, like this is like another person with abilities like Steve Rogers, Captain America. But they couldn't understand him, so they put him on ice until they could experiment on him more. And then later on, he gets thawed out, and Professor X kind of brings him back up to date. And through that, he realizes through the history that he's missed that humans are doomed to repeat the same thing and that mutants will never be safe. So that's how you get Magneto in present time without being like a decrepit old man.
Yeah, good point. So what I'm trying to remember is there was a really small scene in one of the Marvel movies where some female character went back in time with it wasn't her power. She went back there by someone else helping her. I don't remember who. Maybe it was Rogue. For some reason, I'm thinking Rogue. Are
we talking about the MCU or all the Marvel movies that ever existed, including the X-Men?
No, I'm talking about the MCU because I swear there was a flashback scene where they ended up in some children's hospital. And the children had like X-Men-like powers. But this was before Marvel owned X-Men. So it was heavily implied that it was X-Men, but they never said that. And I think the girl, maybe it was, I don't know if it was Rogue or like, who's Quicksilver's sister?
Scarlet Witch.
Maybe it was her.
Yeah, it definitely could have been Rogue because they didn't have the rights to the X-Men characters to use Rogue.
So maybe it was Scarlet Witch and she went back when she was a kid and she was being tested on and she saw herself, but she saw a bunch of other little kids being tested on too. And then it was like an Easter egg and it was Hydra.
I know what you're talking about. You're not talking about a movie. You're talking about the show, the Scarlet Witch show.
Oh, what? It was WandaVision that did that?
I think that was it because I remember there's a time where she's going back and you're seeing like when the experiments were being done on her and how like she actually had the power the whole time, that she was the Scarlet Witch. It's just the time stone unlocked.
But
what was
all the
already
other
there.
little kids had some sort of power themselves.
Yeah. I remember which. I
So
remember
that's
now
what I'm
what you're
talking
talking
about.
about.
Was that
Yeah.
like that was? They said it was Hydra, but it actually I think was the X-Men, but they couldn't say that back then, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
because remember, even in WandaVision, they bought Quicksilver, the same Quicksilver that played Quicksilver in Days of Future Past.
Yes.
He was in WandaVision. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yes. You see, so I'm not crazy. You just
It's just a little
you
bit.
reminded me, and yes, that's exactly what it was. The original Quicksilver, and then like because he died, and then she, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's just my theory. Obviously, there's some things they had to explain, like you said, like the snap and Thanos and all that shit. Like, where were the X-Men then? Why they decided to stay quiet?
No, yeah, I just
But you could say the same thing about the Eternals. Like, we had the Eternals movie happen after that. And it's
cancel
like
that.
but the Eternals, they did nothing. Like, literally half the universe got wiped out, and it was just like, we good. We're gonna chill out for 5 years.
Yeah, but the
Let
Eternals
Avengers
are
handle that.
that's them. So like we see the character of every single individual X-Man. So like none of them would do that. That's out of character for them.
Not Magneto. Magneto would probably be like, good. Less humans for us to deal with. Look. Magneto wouldn't care.
Magneto would
Wolverine
probably be like,
wouldn't care
"Oh, a
either.
building's falling. Let me also crush this group of humans while that's happening."
Probably. Or Magneto's I'm just gonna mind my whole business.
Nah. Anyway.
Like, this is natural selection. Thank you, Thanos. Like, less people for us to deal with. Now we can take over the planet as we'd like. Anyways, but that's just my theory. I think, once again, the mutant should have been here the whole time. It just, you could use Xavier's telepathy and Cerebro to block out any memory anybody on the planet has of any mutants, and that's how you kind of keep them secret. And if anything leaks, you can block that memory out. It's like, that's it. Like, you just don't know. You don't know what you can't remember. It's just like, okay, it just doesn't exist here.
I guess there would just have to be so much explaining, but I mean, yeah.
Yeah, obviously, there's gonna be a lot of explaining. Like, what I said was very surface level. Like, I think it's a good way they could go about it.
Yeah,
but
mine was the lazy way.
Yeah.
If the producers were like, we only have $5 billion, not 8. So
yeah, it's alright, Alexi. I won't hold it against you. But now that we're talking about the X-Men and how they should be introduced in the MCU, y'all let us know how you think they should do it, because it's a tall order for them to do so. I think this is something everybody's talking about.